Good morning, and thank you for being here. We thank members of the media. We thank the Archdiocesan staff and all others who are here today. Today we're going to give you a break from coronavirus and bad weather and introduce with great joy the 7th Archbishop of Atlanta, and then have him speak to you directly and have him answer any questions that you might have. At 12 o'clock today in Rome, 11 months after Archbishop Wilton Gregory was appointed Archbishop of Washington, D.C., Pope Francis announced that an archbishop has been appointed to succeed Archbishop Gregory in the Archdiocese of Atlanta. The Archbishop-elect is, as you heard Maureen say, someone familiar in these parts, having been pastor of 2 Atlanta area parishes for a total of 16 years, from 1995 to 2011. He has served since 2011 as the Bishop of Savannah, Georgia. He's a member of the Conventual Franciscan Friars and a seasoned educator, as well as a parish pastoral minister. I'm happy to welcome to the Archdiocese of Atlanta, Archbishop-elect Gregory Hartmayer.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that warm welcome. Just to set the record straight, Bishop Kanzen is still in charge, and he will be until May the 6th. So I still have Savannah too, so we'll both be busy, but he'll be your contact person here. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here and being interested enough in this announcement to take time to be here this morning. I have a few prepared remarks that I would like to begin with. Maybe it'll answer some of your questions and then open the floor to questions that I may not have addressed or answered or that you would like to know more about. So, and I want to thank Bishop Kanzen and Bishop Schlesinger and the incredible staff here at the Pastoral Center for the Archdiocese of Atlanta for their warm welcome and hospitality. It is like coming home. And what goes around comes around. As you know, today Pope Francis chose me to serve the Church of Atlanta as her 7th Archbishop. And I want to remind Atlanta that you came from Savannah. You are our daughter, and but you are an elder daughter that has been very successful and has many members, and we're happy about that. Atlanta has grown so significantly for all kinds of reasons, but the faith has also grown in Atlanta, and that is something that we must keep in mind and continue to work toward evangelization and formation of our people, because these are difficult times in our society, and I think people are looking for something, as they always have, to hold on to that has roots, that has tradition, that has meaning, has depth, and I think the Catholic Church continues to offer that despite her imperfections. This week, I'm also humbled by the appointment and grateful for the confidence that Pope Francis has in me. It's interesting, we were with him just at the beginning of this month. He never said a word to me. He could have given me a hint, but he didn't. But he's a wonderful, wonderful Pope. We are so privileged in our generation at this time in our lives as a Catholic Church to have such a leader as Pope Francis. And I hope you get to know him more and more, particularly through his readings. He's a prolific writer, and he writes from his heart, and they're very easy documents to read. And so I encourage you to read as much as you can about what he is thinking and what is in his heart, because he is a remarkable spiritual leader, especially for the times in which we live. This week, Pope Francis is beginning Lent with a week of spiritual conferences and meditations. And the theme of his retreat is God's call of Moses to lead his people. And he warns against the temptation to resist God's will. So how could I say no? The retreat director that Pope Francis has chosen to assist him on this spiritual exercise of his retreat stated that God is always at work to orient the person toward the discovery of a higher dimension of living, of a more useful self-giving and service to our brothers and sisters. And I chose that quote from the retreat director because I saw that it spoke to me about what is going to be expected of me as the Archbishop of Atlanta, particularly as a Franciscan, who has a different formation and a different understanding sometimes of what it means to serve. And the vow of poverty is often a very confusing one that people don't understand. Well, how can you say you have a vow of poverty and you drive a car and you live in a house and you eat meals? Well, the vow of poverty is much deeper than that. It's about detachment. And if there's ever a sense of or a feeling of detachment, in my life as a Franciscan, it's been to leave the place that I loved. And that is my feeling now regarding Savannah. And I had that same feeling when I left Atlanta 8 years ago. But that's the poverty of our life, both as religious priests and as diocesan priests and bishops, is when you come to know a community and work with people so closely, and you see a community grow in their faith, and then God calls you in another direction, it's tough. I'm a human being, I'm not a machine, and so I have feelings, and I love the people that I've been working with and serving with in Savannah, but I also understand the call to serve as has been stated to me through the nuncio from the United States, and so I gladly accept the invitation to serve. The statement that I just read reminds me of my own constant conversion. It's a call to a constant conversion and challenge as I accept Pope Francis's invitation to serve as the Archbishop of Atlanta. As most of you know, I served as a pastor of 2 parishes in this archdiocese before being named the Bishop of Savannah in 2011. I was pastor of St. Philip Benizi Catholic Church in Jonesboro, Georgia, on the south side of the city. I was pastor there for 15 years. So I saw kids grow up from birth to high school. And I saw people who were in their 70s finish their life there and respond to God's call to come to him. And so I really felt very close to the people of St. Philip Benizi, which is a very diverse community made up of more than 20 nationalities and ethnic groups, but the international celebration that we would have once a year brought out all of the foods from these countries, and it was a wonderful feast, and we look forward to the community celebration of who we were as a diverse parish, as well as enjoying the food and the dance and the music of each of those countries. And then I was in St. John Vianney in Lithia Springs for just 11 months before I was called to serve as Bishop of Savannah. Both were wonderful assignments, and so my 16 years in the Archdiocese has helped me prepare for this moment which I would have never predicted in my wildest dreams. During those years, I became very fond of the priests, the consecrated religious, the deacons, and the lay faithful here in this archdiocese while I served in Jonesboro and Lithia Springs. In many ways, my appointment to Atlanta is like coming home. My last 8 years as the Bishop of Savannah has also prepared me for this new chapter in my life. The Diocese of Savannah was a wonderful experience for me. I lived and served the ministers and the people of the diocese as a missionary. As bishop, I will never forget the people of my first diocese. I'm bringing those many memories with me when I come here to Atlanta. My time in the Diocese of Savannah has made me a better person, and hopefully a more effective and compassionate priest and bishop. I'm so grateful to God for giving me those precious 8 years that have blessed my life. I have great respect and affection for my predecessor, Archbishop Wilton Gregory. He is a remarkable leader in the Catholic Church in the United States. I cannot possibly fill his shoes. They are far too big. I will have to walk in my own shoes and serve the people of this diocese the best that I can. I'm grateful to Bishop Kanzen and Bishop Schlesinger. They will be at my side, and I am grateful for that. I know them both well, and I look forward to working with them as a team in ministering in this diocese together. The Archdiocese owes a debt of gratitude to Bishop Kanzen and Bishop Schlesinger for their leadership during these past 11 months while waiting for a new Archbishop. That day has come, and both of them are smiling much more broadly. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Please say your name and the media outlet that you represent. And if I can't answer the question, Bishop Kanzen can do it. Sure.
Take us through this morning when you got the call about the appointment, what you were doing, and how it made you feel. I know you said you were with the Pope a couple weeks ago, and he said nothing, so curious to how you took the call this morning. And what are you most looking forward to during your time here?
Lauren, I actually I received the call on Saturday, so he works on Saturday. And he kind of floored me, although, I had heard the rumors that everybody else heard that, that I may be considered as a candidate for the Archbishop of Atlanta. And I told him months and months ago that, I appreciate that and I understand that, but I want to make his job easier by saying, I'm really happy where I am. If there are other people that you want to, consider, please don't hesitate to just bypass me. Pretend.
This is the nuncio, not the Holy Father, right?
This is the nuncio. Yeah, I did not talk to the Holy Father directly. But the nuncio speaks for him. And so that's who I was speaking with, Archbishop Christophe, Pierre. And so I told him, to make it easier for him, just, consider other people. But I will do whatever I'm asked to do. So when he called me on Saturday and asked me to accept the invitation of Pope Francis and his appointment of me to be the Archbishop of Atlanta, I said, Archbishop, I wrote you a letter. And he says, I know you did, but you didn't close the door. And I said, no, I didn't, because I never have. And every appointment that I was given, I took. And each of them has been a blessing to God, from God. And I know this one will be as well. And what am I looking forward to in this diocese? Well, I know it, but I need to know more about it because there's a little gap of about 8 years that I need to catch up on. And so I'm anxious to meet the newly ordained priests in the last 8 years, visit some new parishes that have been created. Times have changed, issues have changed in society and in the church, so those have to be addressed, and we need to continue discussion and action on those items. So the Archdiocese continues to move. You know, I'm just going to try to jump on and catch it and see where it goes. But my first priority, or my first point of business, will be to get to know my priests. They are my first responsibility. And I know many, many of them because of my time here in Atlanta for 16 years. Some of them have retired. Some of them look a little older than they did when I left. But there's some new ones that I need to meet, and I look forward to that. But work will go on as usual. There will always be issues that surface either in the diocese or in our society, and you know, we'll do our best to attend to those. But thank you, Lauren. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Michelle Wright. I'm with WSB Radio, and I've got kind of a twofold question. What do you expect your greatest challenge will be, and what do you expect your greatest joy will be?
Well, I'll take your last question first. The greatest joy will be to continue to be a bishop and to serve a diocese that is much larger than the one from which I just came. But people are people, and the same issues, the same concerns, the same needs are here in perhaps just greater numbers than they would be in Savannah. And I already see here in Atlanta that I have a much bigger staff that will help in serving the needs of the people in the Archdiocese. And so I look forward to tackling those challenges. I enjoy challenges. I like to think things through. I like to discuss things with people who can give me good advice and to help me make the right decision, even though some decisions will be very difficult and maybe controversial. But they're the decision that I made after significant conversation and prayer, and so I look forward to those moments to make the community of a particular parish grow and be happy and to enjoy their faith and their pastoral leadership. Schools are a joy to me. I'm a product of a Catholic school, and this may be hard for you to believe or even understand, but I matriculated in Catholic schools until the age of 40. And it shows you I'm a little bit of a slow learner, but I went to school and graduate school at the same time I was a full-time principal, so I was able to do both at the same time. But I love education. I love schools, and I love and believe very, very strongly in Catholic education and formation. And I want to ensure, together with the schools department and all of the principals and staff at these schools, that these schools are identified as Catholic, that the Catholic identity is strong, and that what we do there is first and foremost pass on the faith. And I know people choose Catholic schools for a variety of reasons, and I understand that. Some of them are academic, some of them are athletic, some of them are the arts or music. But my major reason for supporting Catholic schools and giving them the attention that I think they need is to ensure that they remain Catholic, and that the faith is passed on in a understandable and a practical way, and in a challenging way, because there's a movement outside of Catholic schools that is growing stronger, and the current is against what we're teaching in the schools, and so the kids are caught in the middle because they hear it in music, they hear it on TV, they hear it on and see it on the internet, and then they come to school and they hear something very different, and it causes a confusion. And we have to serve those students by resolving those confusions and trying to help them understand why the church teaches what it does. It's and it is a challenge today. Your first question is, what was the word you used? Challenges. I think time is a challenge for me. There's only so many hours in the day. And in Savannah, I probably stayed in my house less than 2 weeks out of the month. So I was on the road constantly. 80,000 square miles. Size of Ireland is the size of the Savannah diocese. I parish is 6.5 hours away from Savannah, and so I spent a lot of time on the road, so the challenge for me will be to be available, to be visible, and to visit and be present to as many of the faith communities and educational institutions and other institutions, social outreach, as much as I can. So I keep a tight schedule. I'm used to it, and I'm not afraid of it. So I look forward to seeing more and more of Atlanta and what is going on here. Thank you for your question. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. Hi, I'm Archbishop. I'm Andrew Nelson from the Georgia Bulletin.
Oh, Andrew, you interviewed me before.
I did.
Yes.
Was it a good interview?
It was a very good interview.
So I got two questions. Pope Francis, who you met just a few weeks ago, has encouraged the church and its church members to go out to the margins
Yes.
to serve people who might not otherwise meet. I was wondering if you can talk about a time that you went to the margins and you saw Christ in a new and different way, and how that has shaped your ministry as a priest, as a bishop. And then I have a second question after that.
Andrew, I don't have to even give that much thought. We have a parish in Sand Hill, Georgia, and the church is 2 wide trailers put together. And it is completely Mexican, Spanish-speaking. And it is the place that I enjoy going to the most. Now, if this is going over to Savannah, they're going to be mad at me for saying this. But in my heart, the people of Sand Hill are some of the most hospitable, faithful, joyful people I've met. And they have nothing. They have nothing. And they're proud of their church, they're proud of their faith, they're proud of their devotions, and they have great respect for the clergy that come to serve at their parish. And it is a place that I will always remember as one of my fondest experiences in Savannah.
Second question, thank you for that. Second question is a question I'm borrowing, but who would, if you had the authority, who would you canonize, living or dead, man or woman, and why?
Wow. Well, I'd have to give that some thought, but I've met an awful lot of holy people whose names nobody knows. And I've met them either in the sacrament of reconciliation, or I've met them in conversation in their home or in their parish or on the street. They are the salt of the earth. And they'll never be well known. People won't necessarily be aware of what they do for their families or their community, how they serve the needs of others, how they put themselves second to others, and they have so little, but they're willing to share what they have. It's those people that are so close to me in my heart, and they're saints in their own right. I mean, they're living the gospel, and that's what it takes. They're taking the gospel literally in terms of what Christ is asking us to do, and that is to take care of one another and feed the hungry and the thirsty and the naked and visit the ones in prison. And because when you do that, you do it to me. And there are people who truly understand what that means. My experience in the prison has always been a very fond memory for me as well. In Folkestone, Georgia, there's a deportation prison that I go there every December, and we have an outside mass in December, and it's under a big pavilion. I think they use it for basketball, but there are 500 men that come to that mass, and I baptize those that want to be baptized. I confirm. Some receive their first communion. They receive reconciliation, and then they sing. We always do the Guadalupe Mass for them, no matter what day it is, because it's so special to them. And they have a wonderful music group that plays, and they are so attentive and so grateful. And you know, at the end of Mass, you give a blessing. The priest or the bishop gives a final blessing, and then what do? One by one, they come back to me and they say they want another blessing. So 400 more blessings before I can let. But they're in a terrible situation, and their faith is something they can hang on to, and that's why I feel a strong desire to serve there, to be available to be there for them, for the sacraments. We have a deacon in the neighboring parish. He goes there every week and distributes the Eucharist, and so they get pastoral care. And I see Dick Tolcher here, who works with the prisons, and it is a tremendous ministry that we can provide. In the state of Georgia, there are so many prisons. Some of them are private, and some of them are federal and local, but it's not easy. They are not very welcoming to Catholic priests or bishops. It's carryover from the days of old, you know. But nonetheless, we persevere, and we'll go through all the hoops that they put in front of us so that we can get the credentials to go into that prison, and we do it. And I'm happy that we do as much as we do in the prisons in Georgia. Yes, Dick.
I'll see you May 1st, Archbishop. We'll go to death row.
All right, I'll be with you. We went to the federal prison before together.
I know we did.
Can you say a word about being a Franciscan and what that has meant?
Yeah, do you get this? This is the most comfortable thing I could wear. You have no idea what I have underneath this. And in this climate, it works just fine. I'm a Franciscan. I follow the rule in the life of St. Francis of Assisi. And I became a Franciscan because I was taught by them in high school. There were 14 of them on the faculty. And I admired them so much as a young boy, 14 years old, and they were in their 30s. They took such an interest in us. They did so much with us after school, with sports and social activities. They were always there for us. They were strict in the classroom, but they were very, very friendly and caring outside the classroom. And so it created a wonderful relationship. And I just saw them as a community of brothers that enjoyed working and living together and praying together. And I said, that's appealing to me. I come from a wonderful family, but I would like to continue that experience. And if I can do it as a priest, all the more. I was just following an intuition. I don't know, some would call it a vocation, but it was an intuition, something that was pulling me. And so I decided to visit their religious houses, their novitiate and their college. And the more I visited their places, the more I considered myself being a member of that community. And there were 5 of us from my graduation class that went into the novitiate that year in 1969. And I've never turned back once in the 10 years of formation. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life to be formed and educated by the Franciscan friars, because it wasn't just academic. It was in the heart. And you develop that. I mean, you have it by nature, but it has to be developed. And I think the formation that I received in the seminaries that I attended as a Franciscan helped develop that part of me, that compassion and that kind of heart that goes out to people who are in need. I was in the airport in Atlanta Tuesday. I was in Atlanta Monday, transferring planes, coming back. On Tuesday, I arrived in Atlanta, went back to Savannah. Wednesday, I drove back to Atlanta, and today I'm going back to Savannah. So, but while I was in the airport in Atlanta, I had my collar on, my suit, and there was a young man that just came over to me because he saw the collar. And he was Latino. And he said to me, "Father, would you give me your blessing? I'm reporting to Fort Benning." And he couldn't have been 19. And no family with him, on his own, ready to serve our country. And he said to me, "Would you give me your blessing?" Now, where did he learn to even ask that, or to be of thinking that? It came from his home. It came from his upbringing. It came from his practice in whatever church that he attended. I don't even know where he was from, but he was going to Fort Benning, and I don't think he even knew where that was. And I said, "There's a wonderful church right next to the fort. It's run by the Franciscans. It's called St. Anne's." I said, "Most of the fort goes there." I said, "I hope you'll be able to go there." And he was so grateful for that blessing, and the simplicity and the tearing up of his eyes made me feel so good about being a priest, because we've been battered, and in some cases rightly so. But there's still a deep faith in people about their religion and about those who embrace the religion and are serving as priests and sisters and deacons, and that's encouraging. It's very encouraging, and it's those moments when a complete stranger and a young one at that, will come up and ask for a blessing because he's going into the military base in Benning, to Fort Benning. Those are the things that make me get up in the morning every day. Any other questions? Don't be shy, because you're on somebody else's clock right now, so it doesn't matter. Anything else? Father Victor, I'll give you more than my blessing. Any last? Yes.
Do you speak languages other than English?
I struggle with English, as you can tell. I do say Mass in Spanish. Not very well, but I do it. And I try to have as much of a conversation as I can. It's one of my deficiencies that I wish I paid more attention when I was in high school and in college. I took Spanish, and I just said, I'll never need this. And now I regret it. But I've spent a lot of time in Spanish-speaking countries, and I have a lot of friends, my very good friends who are Latino. So whatever you can do for me, I'd be happy to accept it. Any last question? You guys are too good. There's going to be a time when you're going to be after me for something. I suppose I should just take this and run. And But let me give you a blessing. It's the blessing of St. Francis. And it's a blessing that I think has a lot of meaning for people. It does for me. And so the Lord be with you. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May he let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord look upon you kindly and grant you his peace. And may the blessing of Almighty God, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit descend upon you and remain with you forever. Amen. Amen. Thanks so much for coming today.
Thank you. I'm going to do some housekeeping before I turn it back over to Bishop Konzen. Once Bishop Konzen finishes, he's going to let y'all know some logistics about installation, and then the media will go ahead and leave, and we'll have a short staff meeting. But we want to give the staff about 5 minutes to get here, so if you can just hang out after it's over for just a few minutes. And Bishop Konzen, as I said, is going to give us some logistics for ordination or installation and all that.
Once again, thank you to all who are present today. We appreciate your being here and the questions that you've brought forward. The installation of Bishop Hartmayer as Archbishop will take place in 2 months' time, with solemn vespers at the Cathedral of Christ the King on Tuesday, May 5th, and the Mass of installation on Wednesday, May 6th, at times to be announced. The site of the installation, which is at St. Peter's Chanel Parish, was chosen for its ability to offer significantly greater seating than at the cathedral, but without the need to use a public, non-ecclesiastical space. We thank Bishop Hartmayer for his presence today, for his readiness to serve the people of the Archdiocese of Atlanta, and we wish him well as he returns to Savannah, where he'll serve as bishop for the next 2 months, and we'll hope to see many of you on May the 6th. Thank you.